Let us turn to one of the key swing states. Watching Pennsylvania, obviously, but Michigan is also key, and voting underway in that state as well. Michigan, part of the blue wall that fell in 2016. Donald Trump won. He won in Michigan. It was his narrowest margin of any of those states. Just 10,000 votes, just over 10,000 votes, the first Republican to win Michigan since 1988. Megan Fitzpatrick is covering the Michigan story for us. She's not in Michigan because the pandemic is keeping her on the Windsor side of things, but it's an interesting story to follow as well. You heard Donald Trump there speaking to Fox and Friends, Megan, his voice very hoarse, very raspy from many events yesterday, many of which were in Michigan.
Yeah, it was a very late night for the president, wrapping up his campaign in Grand Rapids, Michigan, Heather, one of two appearances in the state behind me yesterday, which signifies just how important Michigan is to the president in order to win re-election. Michigan has 16 electoral college votes, and as you mentioned, Trump narrowly won it in 2016 over Hillary Clinton, and so he is trying his hardest to maintain that support in Michigan. Part of his final pitch last night in Grand Rapids and earlier in Traverse City, talking about what he says he's done for the auto industry in Michigan. He talked about renegotiating NAFTA, the trade deal with Canada and Mexico. He actually took a couple digs at Canada as well, Heather. So he was here making his pitch, or over there across the river from me. And what will be interesting to watch today is turnout in Michigan, Heather. We know about 2.9 people have already voted in Michigan through what they call absentee ballots. So people could send their ballots in by mail or drop them off at their city clerk's office. So what will that mean for turnout in person today? We will be watching for that. But we also know a lot of people from Michigan, a lot of Americans living in Canada, and including here in Windsor, are among those who already cast their ballots by mail. I talked to Kathy Murphy. She lives here in Windsor. She's from Michigan originally. Before the pandemic hit, she would cross this river every day to go to work, Heather. She's working from home now. She talked about what the impact of Americans living in Canada voting in this election could have. Take a listen.
We are not counted in the polls. People don't call Germany or Canada or anywhere else to say, hey, who are you voting for? So they're not counting on us. And I think that we can make a big difference in a swing state like Michigan or Florida.
Kathy's volunteering with the group Democrats Abroad. She is supporting Joe Biden, Heather, and in the last few months, she's been spreading the word to Americans living in Canada about how they can vote today. And the other thing to keep in mind about voting in Michigan, as Ellen was talking about, Michigan is one of the states that can't start voting those absentee ballots until today. They have warned it could take some time to get through those thousands and thousands of ballots, in addition to the in-person ballots that they'll be counting today as well.
But we should have them at some point this week, we understand from state officials. Yes, Megan, but we will be waiting. The other thing I'm interested through the Michigan lens there, we know that there are about 3,600 National Guards personnel who are on standby. We know that police have been preparing for today with extra forces and extra training. Everyone watching for unrest and potential violence. And some groups are also saying they're going to be poll watching. That's what Donald Trump called for, to watch the polls very closely. What is happening in Michigan?
Yeah, well, the governor, Gretchen Whitmer, and the Secretary of State have talked about how preparations have been made to keep voters safe, and they have been warning that voter intimidation is illegal. They actually tried to ban guns at polling places, Heather. Michigan is an open carry state. They tried to ban firearms at polling stations, but that was challenged in court and overturned. We have talked to some groups that plan on being at the polls today, the NAACP, for example, and there's also another group called Callers and Lawyers. It is made up of pastors from churches throughout the country, really, but I did interview one pastor from a church in Detroit who plans on monitoring the polls today. His church is a polling station in Detroit. Take a listen to what he told me.
There may be people who live outside of the city of Detroit who come into the city, who show up at the various election centers and try to hassle people from voting and try to interfere with them voting and try to intimidate them. And so we want to be there not to engage the people who may come to cause any trouble, but we want to be there to assure that the people who show up to vote have the right to vote and get to vote without being interfered with.
And Heather, he said he did have some of these concerns in 2016, but he said tensions are much higher in Michigan this time around. As we know, there was that plot to kidnap the governor that was unveiled a few weeks ago, and that's been contributing to some of the concerns that some people have about security at the polling stations today. So that's another thing to watch for in Michigan today.
And we'll do that with you. Thank you so much. And Megan, look forward to speaking to you tomorrow, too, once we maybe have a better sense of how Michigan is voting. Megan's in Windsor, Ontario, across the river for us today.